Welcome to what I believe is the most disgusting episode of them all, The Man Upstairs. So Christoph Rudico, he actually gives us this statement, and he tells us about how he was moving into a place on Welbeck, called the Welbeck House. He was moving on the ground floor, and it wasn't a very cheap place to live. And so as he's moving all his boxes into his apartment, he sees that there's a man standing in his balcony looking from upstairs while smoking a cigarette, just watching him basically. And so he's like, all right, whatever, like this guy's just watching me, it's fine. And so of course the man from the window always wore like a hooded jacket, and he always smelled unpleasant, is what Christoph said. Christoph tells us how he's a very private person and how he's always okay normally with the neighbors. He learns their habits over time, and he kind of just gets used to them. But he never really got to see the man upstairs because every single time he would like interact with him or like hear from him, it'd be like maybe a small little bit of the door opening and the whiff of the smell, the really bad rotting smell, making it all the way down the stairs near his apartment. And he never really seemed to leave, but he always got packages. And so on the 5th of July, 2004, a few days before his 32nd birthday, he wanted to hold a party at his house, which honestly, bro, yeah, I would do that too because it's your house. But then he heard a banging sound, and this banging sound didn't stop. It sounded like the person who was living above him, which was the man upstairs, seemed to be banging something into his, like a nail into his wall. Now, it originally started on the wall, and then it would go into the ground, like he was hammering nails into the ground, and then it would stop. So this would go on for about an hour every 2 weeks, and then it would stop, this constant hammering sound. And then about 6 months later, a package was actually sent to Christoph, and it was actually incorrectly addressed to him, and it was supposed to go to the man upstairs. So he kind of tried to bring up this will to go upstairs, and his legs were shaking as he was walking up the stairs, and he knocked on the door, and first he heard nothing. So he knocked again, and he heard someone coming in as if they were walking on very thick carpeting. And so they opened the door slowly, and it was like, "What do you want?" Now, as he was kind of taking some of his senses and looking around, he realized that there was a big stain right in front of his door specifically, and that the package that he was holding was oddly soft, like too soft as he kept feeling it. But he basically said like, "Oh, I have a package for you. It accidentally got delivered to me. Here's your package." So he sees this like really thin, bony hand come out and grab it, and he can see this like liquid underneath his fingernails, this like yellow liquid, and some ends up getting on his jacket, which he later had to throw away because the smell just wouldn't come out no matter how many washes he tried. And then the guy just slammed the door in his face, and he was just like, okay, whatever. Until about 2 years later, around 2007, his mom's health actually went really bad, and he had to go take care of her, which she did later end up passing away. But he ended up needing to sell his flat, so he was trying to figure out different ways that he could do that. So he was trying to bring people over, give tours, and everyone always asked, "What's that smell?" And so originally there was a stain on the roof, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know what that stain is." It became a dripping. So he called the plumber to come over and look at it, and the plumber was like, "Oh, that doesn't really seem like a pipe leak or anything, but I'll still check it out." And so he gets his ladder, gets on the very top of his ladder, puts on some nice gloves, which is so smart, and as he's feeling around the very liquidy area of the ceiling, as soon as he touches it, it completely collapses. The plumber throws up, Christoph throws up. It was a very disgusting moment. And so Christoph, who is really pissed off and stressed at the same time because he's been staying in a hotel this whole time because the smell just got that bad, he decides that he is just going to storm upstairs and knock on this man's door. So he knocked the first time, no answer. Knocked the second time, and then the door kind of flung open but stopped as if it hit something. And so, of course, he reaches out and he turns on the light, and he just sees nothing but, and trigger warning, this is disgusting. If you like eating meat, don't stop at this point. But as he enters, there is just a bunch of rotting meat all over, covering every single surface except the windows. And there's a bunch of nails in the walls, and there's a bunch of new meat on top of old meat, and it was just very, very disgusting. This meat was ranging from chicken to lamb to beef to everything. And so in the middle of this room is actually the body of the man, and he has lesions all over his face, and he's just lying there dead. But then as he turns, as he's gonna leave out, he realizes that in the kitchen there's this big like bone and meat that has yellow fluid moved and opened all of its eyes. And then that's when he called the police, and upon the police's arrival, they ended up throwing up, and they called a hazmat team to come in, retrieve the body, and clean that disgusting ass apartment. There was a lot of arguing with the insurance companies about like, oh, does this go under homeowners insurance and everything. And after that, he does end the statement by saying he became a vegetarian, which I would too, because that sounds disgusting. Here are some important notes of this episode. He says that it was quite tricky to cross-reference the police reports and the fire department reports because they were all very different. And so he said that he remembers the conflicting views of like the recovering of Toby's body, how he died, and now Christoph is trying to move on, so he doesn't really want to do a follow-up. But Sasha did get access to Toby's financial records, and there was no financial record of him going to any grocery store. And so what kept bugging Jonathan is, where was he getting the meat? And this wouldn't stop bugging Jonathan. He was just like, how was he getting meat? Where was all the meat even coming from?